Hi, everyone. Welcome to English Today Journey. I'm so happy you are here with me. My name is Jenny, and today we are going to do something very special. This lesson is not just about listening to English. It is also about learning English in the right way and making progress quickly. I know that many of you want to improve your English fast. You want to understand English when people speak, not just in books. Sometimes, learning English can feel really hard. Sometimes you listen to someone and you only catch one or two words. Other times, people speak so fast that it feels like there is a big wall between you and the words. Maybe you feel frustrated or think you will never understand. But here is something important. You are not alone. Every English learner feels like this at some point. It is normal and it is okay. Today, we are going to do something different. I want you to imagine that you are sitting with a good friend. You are just talking and listening in a relaxed way. There is no need to be nervous. That is exactly how we are going to practice listening today. You don't need to take notes. You don't need to write anything down. You don't even need to try hard to understand every single word. Just sit, relax, and let the English flow into your ears. Listening is very similar to music. Think about music for a moment. When you hear a new song for the first time, you may not understand every note or every word. But after a few times, you start to hear the rhythm. You begin to notice patterns, familiar sounds, and the way the music moves. English works the same way. At first, you may not understand everything. You may only catch a word here and a word there. But over time, your brain starts to recognize the sounds, the patterns, and the rhythm of the language. Let me tell you a small story about myself. When I was younger, I wanted to learn a new language too. I remember sitting with the radio on, listening to people speak in a language I didn't know very well. At first, I could only understand one or two words, maybe hello or thank you. Most of the time, I didn't understand anything at all. But I kept listening every day. I listened even when I didn't understand. I listened even when it felt impossible. After a few weeks, I started to notice something amazing. I could understand more words than before. I could catch small phrases. I could feel the rhythm of the sentences. And after a few months, I could understand many sentences, even whole conversations. Do you know why this happened? It happened because my brain was learning slowly. My brain was becoming familiar with the sounds. My brain was learning the rhythm of the language. That is the secret to learning English. Consistent listening. Small, simple steps every day build your ability to understand English naturally. You don't need to understand everything at once. You just need to keep listening over and over again, and your brain will start to recognize the words and patterns automatically. So today, we will practice in a calm, relaxed way. We will listen to English like a song. We will hear simple, natural sentences, the kind of English that people really use. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Just enjoy the sounds. Let your ears and your brain do the work. Step by step, day by day, you will get better. Your listening will improve, and soon, English will feel less like a wall and more like a friendly conversation with someone you like. Learning English is not about rushing or forcing yourself. It is about patience, consistency, and enjoying the process. And that is exactly what we are going to do together. Learning English takes time and patience. You cannot understand everything in just one day, and that is completely normal. Your brain needs repeated listening to get comfortable with the sounds and rhythm of English. But here's the good news. If you practice every day, you will improve faster than you think. It may feel slow at first, but even small steps make a big difference over time. So today, let's practice together. I will speak in clear, natural English for you. I will use simple words, and I will keep the speed comfortable, neither too slow nor too fast. As you listen, you will notice your ears start to recognize the sounds. Your brain will begin to understand English naturally. It is okay if you do not catch every single word. Do not worry, do not get frustrated, and do not give up. Imagine the words are like waves in the sea. You do not need to hold them or analyze them. Just let them wash over you. The more you listen, the more your brain will learn. Step by step, day by day, listening will become easier, and soon you will begin to understand more and more. This is how your brain becomes comfortable with English. Listening is not just about hearing words, it is about training your mind to understand patterns, rhythm, and meaning. Now, let's talk about how to learn English properly. Many students think that learning English means memorizing grammar rules every day. They try to remember every detail and often feel stressed. But the truth is, grammar alone will not make you fluent. You can know all the rules, but if you cannot understand English when people speak, you will feel stuck. The best way to learn English is to balance different skills: listening, speaking, vocabulary, and grammar. Among all of these, listening is one of the most important. When you listen a lot, your brain picks up grammar naturally without stress. You do not need to memorize everything. Listening is like building a foundation. You need it before you can build walls and roofs in English. That is why listening practice is so powerful and effective. To show you how it works, let's try a small listening exercise right now. I will tell you a short, simple story. You do not need to understand every single word. Just relax, sit back, and enjoy listening. Are you ready? Here is the story. Yesterday morning, I woke up very early. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. I made a cup of tea and sat near the window. While I was drinking my tea, I saw a little cat walking outside. The cat was very small and very cute. It looked at me through the window, and I smiled. After that, I went to work. On the way, I met an old friend. We talked for a few minutes, laughed a little, and then I continued my journey. That was the short story. Now, think about the words you caught. Maybe you understood morning, sun, cat, friend, or work. That is already amazing. Even if you understood only a few words, your brain is learning. Every word you hear builds your listening skill. Every sentence you listen to helps your brain recognize patterns in English. Do not worry about what you missed. The important part is that you listened, that you paid attention, and that you let English enter your mind naturally. Remember, learning English is a process. You need patience, time, and consistent practice. Listening every day, even for a few minutes, helps your brain adapt to English. It trains your ears, your mind, and even your pronunciation. Over time, words that were once difficult to understand will become familiar. Sentences that seemed fast will become clear. Conversations that seemed impossible to follow will become enjoyable. And all of this happens naturally, quietly, without stress, simply by listening and being consistent. Listening is the key to building confidence in English. That is already great. Even if you did not understand much at first, do not worry. Listening to English is a skill that improves over time. The more you listen, the more your brain notices details. The first time you hear something, you might catch only a few words. The second time, you will notice a few more. Each time you listen, your brain slowly learns new sounds, words, and patterns. This is exactly how you practice listening. First listen, then listen again. Over time, listening becomes easier, and you will start to understand more than you thought you could. Now, let's talk about how to learn English faster. Many people ask me, Jenny, how can I learn English quickly? My answer is simple. You need to make English a part of your daily life. Learning English is not just about studying in the classroom or memorizing words for a short time. It is about bringing English into your mornings, your evenings, and even your free time. For example, you can listen to English songs. Choose simple songs with clear words so you can follow along. Watch English shows or YouTube videos with subtitles so you can see and hear the words at the same time. Try repeating small phrases after you hear them. Even talking to yourself in English while cooking, walking, or doing simple tasks can help a lot. These small, everyday activities may seem little, but they make a huge difference over time. To practice listening, let's try another small story. This one is very simple, but it will help you notice words and sentences naturally. Listen carefully. Last Sunday, I went to the park. The weather was nice. Many people were walking, some were running, and children were playing with the ball. I sat on a bench and read a book. After a while, I felt hungry, so I bought some bread and juice from a small shop. While I was eating, a dog came near me. The dog wanted some bread too. I laughed and gave the dog a small piece. The dog was happy and wagged its tail. Now, think about the words you recognized. Maybe you understood words like park, weather, people, children, book, bread, or dog. Maybe you noticed some small sentences like, I went to the park, or children were playing. Even if you only caught a few words, that is already progress. This is exactly how listening practice works. Small stories, simple words, and repeated listening. Over time, your brain starts to pick up more and more. One of the best ways to practice listening is called shadowing. Shadowing means listening and repeating at the same time. For example, I say, I went to the park, and you try to repeat it just after me. This helps your brain and your mouth work together. It improves your speaking and listening at the same time. Shadowing also trains your pronunciation and rhythm. You do not need to repeat every word perfectly. The goal is to get used to the sounds, patterns, and flow of English. By listening, repeating, and practicing every day, you make English a natural part of your life. Your brain starts to recognize words, sentences, and meaning without you needing to study grammar or memorize lists. Step by step, day by day, your English will get better. You will feel more confident when listening to conversations, watching shows, or talking with friends. Small stories, daily listening, and shadowing are the keys. English becomes easier when it is part of your life, not just something you study for a short time. Remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. Enjoy the process, listen as much as you can, and let your brain gradually absorb the language. Each time you listen, you are improving, even if it feels slow at first. Consistency and patience are the real secrets to learning English quickly and naturally. Shadowing is a very powerful way to improve both your listening and speaking. When you listen and repeat at the same time, your brain and your mouth work together. This helps you understand words faster and makes your pronunciation better. Let's try a short shadowing exercise together. I will say some simple sentences, and you repeat them after me. Ready? Here we go. I like coffee. I like tea. I have a book. I see a cat. The sun is bright. The dog is running. Great. If you repeated these sentences with me, congratulations. You just practiced shadowing. You can do this every day with short, simple sentences. Even a few minutes of shadowing each day will help your brain get used to English sounds and rhythm. Over time, you'll notice that you understand English faster and your speaking will sound more natural. Now, let's talk about why listening can sometimes feel difficult. One big reason is speed. Native speakers often talk very fast, and it can feel like one long word without breaks. Another reason is something called connected speech. This means that in natural English, people do not always pronounce every word clearly. For example, instead of saying going to, people often say gonna. Instead of want to, they might say wanna. At first, this can be confusing, but don't worry. With practice, your ears will get used to these patterns. In this lesson, I will sometimes use connected speech so you can get used to real English. For example, I might say, I'm going to go to the park later. Did you hear that? I'm going to is a natural way of saying, I am going to. Listening to this over and over will help you understand English, as it is really spoken. Here is a helpful tip. When you hear fast English, don't try to translate every word in your head. This will slow you down and make listening harder. Instead, focus on understanding the main idea. If you can catch the main idea, you already understand most of the conversation. Later, as you listen more, you'll begin to notice the smaller details and words. The main goal is to get comfortable with the sounds and rhythm first. Let's do one more listening practice. This story will be a little longer, but still simple. Just relax and listen carefully. Last Friday, I had a busy day. In the morning, I went shopping. I bought some fruit, vegetables, and bread. The shop was very crowded, and I waited in line for 10 minutes. After shopping, I went to the library. I borrowed 2 books about travel because I love reading about different countries. In the afternoon, I met my cousin at a cafe. We drank coffee and talked about our plans. She wants to visit the mountains next month. I told her about my plan to visit the beach soon. After talking, we walked a little in the park near the cafe. The sun was warm and people were walking their dogs, playing with children, and riding bicycles. It was a beautiful day, and I felt happy to spend time outside and with my cousin. In the evening, I returned home and cooked a simple dinner. I was tired but satisfied with my day. After listening, you may have noticed some words like shopping, fruit, library, cousin, coffee, or park. Maybe you understood sentences like, I went shopping, or I met my cousin at a cafe. That is excellent. Even if you did not catch everything, your brain is learning. Each time you listen, you will catch more words and sentences. This is how English listening improves naturally, by listening, repeating, and practicing consistently. Remember, listening is a skill that grows over time. Shadowing, understanding connected speech, focusing on the main idea, and listening every day will make a big difference. Your understanding will improve, your speaking will sound more natural, and English will start to feel easier and more familiar. In the last story, I mentioned that my cousin wanted to visit London and I wanted to visit Paris. We were very excited about traveling and imagining all the fun things we could do. In the evening, I cooked dinner at home. I made rice, chicken, and a fresh salad. After dinner, I watched a movie and then went to sleep. That was the story. You do not need to understand every detail right now. The most important thing is to listen again later. Each time you listen, your brain will notice more words and sentences. This is exactly how learning English works, step by step, little by little. To finish this part, I want to remind you about what it really means to learn English properly. Learning English is not about being perfect from the beginning. It is about practicing every day, listening every day, speaking a little every day, and not being afraid of mistakes. Every time you practice, you improve. And if you practice here with me on English Lab, you will see your progress faster. That makes me very happy because it shows that you are serious about learning. The more you listen, the more your brain learns. Over time, English will feel easier and listening will become natural. Today, in this part, we are focusing on daily life listening. Daily life means the simple things we all do every day: eating, cooking, shopping, walking, meeting people, and going places. These are the words and sentences you need most in English. When you travel or talk with people, these are the topics that come up all the time. If you know these words, you can understand and participate in real conversations. The goal is to feel comfortable listening to normal, everyday English. Let's begin with something very simple. I will tell you a story about a normal day. As you listen, try not to worry about grammar. Don't try to translate every word in your head. Just listen for the feeling, the picture, and the main idea. Here we go. Yesterday, I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I brushed my teeth and washed my face. Then I made some breakfast. I had bread with butter and a cup of tea. After breakfast, I cleaned my room and checked my phone. Later, I went outside to buy some vegetables. At the shop, I bought tomatoes, onions, and potatoes. The shopkeeper was friendly and asked me, "How are you today?" I smiled and said, "I'm good, thank you." After shopping, I went home and cooked lunch. I made rice and vegetables. While cooking, I listened to a short English song on my phone. After lunch, I rested for a little while and then went for a short walk. On my walk, I saw children playing outside, people walking their dogs, and a street musician playing a guitar. I smiled and enjoyed the fresh air. When I returned home, I drank a cup of tea and read a few pages of a book. In the evening, I prepared dinner, ate, and then relaxed by watching a movie before going to sleep. Did you notice some of the words and sentences? Words like breakfast, vegetables, shop, walk, and children are all part of daily life. Sentences like, I went outside to buy some vegetables, or I drank a cup of tea, are very common in English conversations. Even if you did not understand every word, your brain is learning. Listening to these everyday stories repeatedly helps you recognize patterns and familiar sounds. Over time, these simple words and sentences will feel natural, and you'll be able to understand real conversations much more easily. Remember, the secret to learning English is consistent practice. Listen every day, speak a little every day, and do not be afraid of mistakes. Focus on daily life stories, repeat them, and try shadowing simple sentences. The more you expose yourself to normal, everyday English, the faster your listening and speaking skills will improve. This is the path to real progress, and it is simple, but it requires patience, time, and consistent effort. In the last story, I shared a simple day in my life. I had breakfast, cooked lunch, listened to music, read a book, and in the evening I watched television with my family. Before going to sleep, I drank a glass of milk. It was a normal, simple day, but it was a good day. That is exactly the kind of daily life English we want to practice. Did you understand some of it? Maybe you noticed words like breakfast, vegetables, music, or television. That is excellent. The goal is not to understand every word perfectly right now. The goal is to get comfortable listening to normal English sentences. With repeated listening, your brain will slowly recognize words, sentences, and the rhythm of English. Let's try a small shadowing practice using some sentences from the story. Remember, shadowing means you listen and repeat right after me. This helps both your listening and speaking at the same time. Are you ready? Let's try together. I woke up at 7 o'clock. I brushed my teeth. I had bread with butter. I went outside to buy vegetables. I made rice and vegetables. I watched television with my family. Good job. If you repeated these sentences, you are already practicing shadowing. Doing this regularly trains your ears to understand English naturally and helps your mouth speak the words correctly. Both listening and speaking improve together. Now, let's hear another short story about daily life. This one is a little different, but still simple and useful. Just listen and relax. Last week, I took a bus to the city center. The bus was crowded, and I had to stand. I looked out of the window and saw many shops and people walking in the city center. I went to a bookstore because I love reading. I spent 1 hour looking at books and bought a novel and a dictionary. After that, I went to a cafe. I ordered a sandwich and a cup of coffee. The waiter was polite and said, "Enjoy your meal." I sat at the table, ate slowly, and watched people walking outside. After lunch, I met my friend. We walked in the park and talked about our plans. It was a nice day. Did you notice the daily life activities in the story? Words like bus, city center, bookstore, cafe, sandwich, and park are all very useful for everyday English. Sentences like, I took a bus to the city center, or I ordered a sandwich and a cup of coffee, are common in real conversations. Even if you did not understand everything, your brain is learning. The more you listen, the more familiar these words and sentences become. Let's do a small exercise now. I will say some words from the story, and you try to repeat them after me. This helps with pronunciation and listening. Bus, bookstore, cafe, sandwich, park, friend. Excellent. Repeating words and sentences from stories is a very powerful way to learn. It makes the sounds of English familiar, and your brain starts to notice patterns. Shadowing, listening to daily life stories, and repeating words are all simple methods that help you improve naturally over time. Remember, English learning is about consistency, not perfection. Listen every day, repeat small sentences, and practice shadowing. Focus on daily life words and sentences because these are the ones you will use most when talking with people, traveling, or reading simple stories. Step by step, day by day, your listening will improve, your speaking will get better, and English will start to feel natural and easy. By practicing stories like these, shadowing and repeating words, your brain becomes more comfortable with English. You do not need to memorize grammar rules or translate every word. The goal is to understand the main idea, enjoy listening, and gradually recognize more details. With patience and regular practice, you will notice your skills improving faster than you think. Repeating words and sentences over and over is a very powerful way to make them feel natural. Words like bus, bookstore, cafe, sandwich, coffee, friend, and park may seem small, but they're very useful. The more you hear and repeat them, the easier it becomes to recognize and use them in real life. But listening is not just about individual words. It is also about understanding situations and conversations. English is used in real-life contexts, so it is important to listen to short dialogues and practice them. Let's imagine a small daily life conversation. I will act as both people, so you can hear how a simple conversation sounds. Listen carefully. Good morning. How are you today? I'm fine, thank you. How about you? I'm good. What are you doing today? I'm going to the market to buy some fruit. Oh, that's nice. What kind of fruit will you buy? Maybe apples and bananas. Sounds delicious. Enjoy your shopping. Thank you. See you later. This is a small, simple, polite conversation you might hear every day. You do not need to worry about big or difficult words. These short dialogues are the foundation of real English conversations. Listening to them often will help your brain understand the rhythm and flow of English. Now, let's practice shadowing with this dialogue. Shadowing means you listen and repeat right after the speaker. I will say one line, and you repeat it. Ready? Good morning. How are you today? I'm fine, thank you. How about you? I'm good. What are you doing today? I'm going to the market to buy some fruit. Oh, that's nice. What kind of fruit will you buy? Maybe apples and bananas. Sounds delicious. Enjoy your shopping. Thank you. See you later. Well done. If you repeated with me, you just practiced real-life conversation. Shadowing like this improves both your listening and speaking skills at the same time. Your brain learns to recognize the sounds of English, and your mouth learns to produce the words naturally. Let's move on to another daily life topic, going to a restaurant. Listening to stories about restaurants is very useful because most people go to restaurants regularly, and the vocabulary and sentences are practical. Listen to this short story. On Saturday evening, I went to a restaurant with my cousin. The restaurant was small but very clean. We sat near the window. The waiter gave us the menu. I ordered chicken with rice, and my cousin ordered fish with salad. We also asked for 2 glasses of water. The food came quickly, and it was very tasty. After eating, we paid the bill and said thank you to the waiter. It was a nice experience. Did you notice some key words and phrases in the story? Words like restaurant, menu, chicken, rice, fish, salad, and water are very common in daily life. Sentences like, I ordered chicken with rice, or we paid the bill and said thank you, are typical phrases you will hear often. These small stories help your brain learn how English works naturally. The key to improving listening is repetition, practice, and understanding situations. First, listen to short stories and dialogues. Then, repeat words and sentences. Try shadowing conversations. Focus on situations you experience every day, shopping, talking to friends, going to restaurants. Step by step, your listening will become faster. Your speaking will sound natural, and English will start to feel familiar. Remember, learning English is a process. You do not need to understand every word immediately. Focus on the main idea, repeat what you hear, and practice every day. Over time, your brain will recognize patterns, your vocabulary will grow, and you will feel confident in daily conversations. Listening, repeating, and shadowing are the secrets to making English easy, natural, and fun. Maybe one day you will visit a restaurant in another country, and these words will be very useful. Let's practice some words from the restaurant story together. Restaurant menu, chicken, fish, salad, bill, waiter.
Great.
Now, let's try full sentences. Repeat after me. I went to a restaurant. I ordered chicken with rice. The food was tasty. We paid the bill. Excellent. By repeating sentences like this, your brain starts to remember both words and how they fit into real-life situations. This is exactly how English becomes natural over time. Now, let's move to another important daily life topic, shopping. Listening and practicing stories about shopping is very useful because everyone shops in daily life. Here is a simple story. Yesterday afternoon, I went shopping for clothes. I needed a new shirt. I went to 3 different shops. The first shop was too expensive. The second shop did not have my size. Finally, in the third shop, I found a shirt that I liked. It was blue and very comfortable. I bought it and felt happy. This story is simple, but it is full of useful words. Words like shopping, shirt, shop, buy, and comfortable are important for daily conversations. Sentences like, I went shopping for clothes or I found a shirt that I liked are easy to use in real life. Let's practice shadowing again. Repeat after me. I went shopping for clothes. I needed a new shirt. The first shop was too expensive. I found a shirt that I liked. It was blue and comfortable. Very good. Shadowing like this helps both your listening and speaking at the same time. You can practice English even when you are at home. For example, when you cook, say to yourself, I am cooking rice. I am cutting vegetables. I am making tea. When you clean your room, you can say, I am cleaning the table. I am sweeping the floor. I am washing the clothes. Talking to yourself in English is a very effective habit. It trains your brain to think in English and helps your mouth get used to speaking. Doing this every day makes a big difference over time. Before we finish this part, let's listen to one more daily life story. This one is a little longer, so focus on catching the main ideas, not every single word. Last Monday, I woke up early because I had to go to the doctor. I had a small cold and wanted to check it. After breakfast, I walked to the clinic. The nurse at the desk asked me to wait. After 10 minutes, the doctor called me in. He checked my temperature and asked me some questions about how I was feeling. He said that I should rest, drink plenty of water, and take some medicine for the cold. After the visit, I thanked him and left the clinic. Did you notice the daily life activities here? Words like doctor, clinic, cold, temperature, medicine, and breakfast are all very useful in everyday conversations. Sentences like, I had to go to the doctor, or I should rest and drink water, are phrases you might hear often. Listening to short stories like this helps your brain get used to natural English and understand everyday situations. Remember, the key to learning English is repetition and practice. Listen every day, repeat sentences, shadow short stories, and talk to yourself in English. Focus on daily life topics like shopping, cooking, going to the doctor, and eating at restaurants. These are the things you will talk about most often. Over time, your listening will improve, your speaking will become more natural, and English will start to feel easy and familiar. In the last story, I went to the doctor because I had a small cold. The doctor checked me and gave me some medicine. After the clinic, I went to the pharmacy to buy the medicine. Then I went home and rested. In the evening, I felt better and watched a movie on television. Did you notice some useful words in the story? Words like doctor, clinic, nurse, medicine, pharmacy are very important for daily life and health. Let's practice them together. Repeat after me. Doctor, clinic, nurse, medicine, pharmacy.
Great.
Now, let's try a full sentence with these words. Repeat after me. I went to the doctor. The doctor gave me medicine. I went to the pharmacy.
Perfect.
By practicing words and sentences like this, you train your brain to remember them and use them naturally. So far, in this part, we have practiced listening to daily life English. We heard stories about shopping, eating, traveling, and visiting the doctor. These are real situations that happen every day, so practicing them prepares you for real life. The more you listen, the more your brain understands English in context. The key is practice. Listen, repeat, speak, and never give up. Daily life listening helps you notice normal English patterns. For example, when you hear stories about shopping or visiting the doctor, you hear the words and sentences in a natural order. Your brain starts to recognize these patterns automatically. This is exactly how fluent English speakers think. They hear English every day, and their brains naturally understand it without translating. Now, we are ready to take the next step. In this part, we will expand your vocabulary, learn how to avoid common mistakes, and practice listening with slightly longer, more natural stories. So, what does expanding vocabulary mean? It simply means learning more words. When you know more words, you can understand more, and you can say more. If you only know a few words, you can only understand simple sentences. But if you know more words, you can follow conversations, talk about daily life, and express your ideas clearly. The good news is you do not need to learn hundreds of new words every day. You only need to learn a few words each day, but the important part is repetition. You must use these words again and again, so they stay in your memory. Even a small number of new words learned daily, when practiced repeatedly, will make a big difference over time. Let me give you a short story to help you expand your vocabulary. This story will include some new words, but don't worry if you do not understand everything at first. The goal is to catch the main ideas, recognize new words, and practice listening naturally. Listening to stories with new words is much better than just memorizing lists because you hear the words in real-life situations. In this story, you will hear words about daily life, activities, and emotions. Focus on understanding the context and the main idea first. Later, with repeated listening and shadowing, your brain will notice details and the new words will become familiar. Step by step, your listening, speaking, and vocabulary will grow together. Remember, the secret to learning English is consistency. Listen every day, repeat words and sentences, practice shadowing, and try to use English in your daily life. Even short practice sessions are helpful if you do them regularly. Over time, you will see real improvement, and English will feel more natural and easier to understand. Last weekend, I decided to visit a market near the river. The market was very lively and colorful. There were many people walking around, shopping and selling things. Some people were selling clothes, some were selling food, and some were selling handmade jewelry. I was very interested in looking at all the things around me. I noticed a beautiful necklace made of wood. It was very simple, but very attractive. I also saw many paintings. Some paintings had bright colors, and some had soft colors. They were all very creative and beautiful. The air in the market smelled amazing. There were many spices in the air. I could smell pepper, cinnamon, and turmeric. The smells made me feel hungry and happy at the same time. I decided to buy a small bag of fresh oranges. They looked very juicy. I also bought a bottle of honey. I thought the honey would taste sweet and healthy. After walking around the market for about 1 hour, I started to feel tired. So, I found a bench near the river and sat down. I watched the boats moving slowly on the water. Some people were fishing, and some were just enjoying the view. The water looked calm, and the sun reflected beautifully on the river. I enjoyed sitting there for a while and watching everything around me. It was a peaceful moment after walking in the busy market. Now, let us look at some new words from the story. Maybe you heard some words that are not familiar, like jewelry, necklace, paintings, and spices. Let me explain them in simple English. Jewelry is something people wear, like rings, earrings, and bracelets. A necklace is a piece of jewelry that you wear around your neck. Paintings are pictures made by artists using colors and paint. Spices are things like pepper, cinnamon, or turmeric that give food a special taste and smell. These words can be used in many different sentences. For example, you can say, I saw some jewelry today, or she wore a beautiful necklace. You can also say, the artist made many paintings, or the food had different spices. By learning words like this, you can make your English better. Listening to stories, noticing new words, learning their meaning, and repeating them is a very good way to grow your vocabulary. When you repeat sentences with new words, Your brain remembers them faster. You can practice these words every day, and soon you will be able to use them naturally. Let's also talk about some common mistakes that many English learners make. One mistake is with verbs in the third person singular. Some learners forget to add s at the end of the verb. For example, they may say, he go to school, but the correct sentence is, he goes to school. Another common mistake is with past tense verbs. Some learners may say, yesterday I go to the shop, but the correct sentence is, yesterday I went to the shop. These mistakes are very normal. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. The most important thing is to keep practicing. With time, listening, and practice, you will correct these mistakes. Let's practice some correct sentences together. You can repeat after me. He goes to school every day. She eats breakfast in the morning. By practicing this way, you will slowly improve your grammar and speaking skills. Always remember, learning a language is like walking on a path. Sometimes it is easy, sometimes it is difficult, but if you keep going, you will reach your goal. Keep listening, practicing, and using new words every day. Yesterday, I went to the shop. Last night, my friend watched a movie.
Good job.
These sentences may seem simple, but they are very important for learning English. Listening to correct sentences many times helps your brain learn grammar naturally. When you hear sentences often, your brain starts to copy them, and slowly you stop making mistakes. This is a natural way to improve your English. You do not need to worry about memorizing rules at first. Listening and repeating is a very effective method. Now, let's try a story with a little more natural English. This story will help you learn new words and see grammar in real use. On Tuesday evening, I met my friend Anna at a small cafe. We had not seen each other for 2 months, so we were very excited to meet again. We sat at a corner table and ordered some tea. Anna told me about her new job. She works as a designer in a clothing shop. She said her work is interesting, but sometimes it can be stressful. I told her about my family and my new hobbies. We laughed a lot and shared old memories. After 2 hours, we said goodbye and promised to meet again soon.
That was the story.
Did you notice some new words? Maybe you heard designer, stressful, and memories. Let me explain them simply. A designer is a person who creates clothes, furniture, or other things. Stressful means something that gives you pressure or makes you feel worried. Memories are things you remember from the past. These words are useful in everyday life, so it is good to practice them. Let's repeat the words together. Designer, stressful, memories. Now we can make sentences with these words. You can say, she is a clothing designer. My job is sometimes stressful. I have many happy memories. By repeating and using words in sentences, you remember them better. Sometimes, learners try to learn new words by memorizing long lists. This can be boring and hard to remember. A better way is to learn words inside stories. When you listen to a story, you hear words in real sentences. You can imagine the situation, and that makes the word easier to remember. Stories also make learning fun. Let's try another story with more new words. Last summer, I traveled to the mountains with my family. We stayed in a small wooden cabin. The air was very fresh, and the sky was clear and bright. During the day, we went hiking on the hills. The view was beautiful. We saw rivers flowing through the mountains, tall green trees, and colorful flowers along the paths. The birds were singing, and the sound of the wind through the trees was very calming. At night, we sat outside the cabin and looked at the stars. They were shining brightly in the clear sky. We talked about our favorite moments of the day and made many happy memories together. Being in nature was relaxing, and it gave us time to enjoy each other's company without any rush. This trip taught me that spending time with family and appreciating nature is very important. It also showed me that stories, even small ones, can help you remember new words and feel more confident in English. At night, we sat near a small fire outside the cabin and looked at the stars. The sky was clear, and the stars shone brightly. It was a very peaceful and relaxing moment. We could hear the wind in the trees, the soft sound of rivers nearby, and the occasional bird. Everything felt calm, and we enjoyed being together as a family. Moments like this made me feel happy and thankful. Spending time in nature, away from the busy city, gave us a chance to rest and relax completely. Now, let's look at some new words from this part of the story. You may have heard the words cabin, hiking, and peaceful. Let me explain them. A cabin is a small wooden house, usually in the mountains or in the forest. People often stay in cabins when they travel to nature. Hiking means walking for a long time in nature, usually in mountains, hills, or forests. Peaceful means calm, quiet, and without stress or noise. These words are very useful, especially if you like nature or traveling. Let's practice saying them together. Cabin, hiking, peaceful. Now, let's make sentences with these words. We stayed in a cabin. We went hiking in the hills. The place was peaceful. By connecting new words to a story, it becomes much easier to remember them. Stories give words meaning, and your brain remembers them faster when you can imagine the situation. Next, let's practice a common grammar challenge, prepositions. Many English learners confuse in, on, and at. For example, some people say, I am in the bus, but the correct sentence is, I am on the bus. Or they say, I am at Monday, but it should be, I am on Monday. Prepositions are small words, but they are very important because they make your sentences correct. Don't worry if they seem tricky at first. With listening and practice, you will get them right. Let's repeat some examples together. I am on the bus. I am in the car. I am at the park. The meeting is on Monday. The keys are on the table. The clothes are in the bag. These sentences show how prepositions work in real situations. Now, let's continue with another listening story to practice more vocabulary. Yesterday afternoon, I went to the library. The library was quiet, and many students were sitting at tables, reading books or studying. I wanted to find a book about history. After searching for a few minutes, I found a good book and sat down at a table to read. After some time, my phone rang. I answered it quietly because I did not want to disturb anyone. After reading for 1 hour, I returned the book to the shelf and went home. Did you notice some new words in the story? Words like library, quiet, and disturb are very useful. A library is a place with many books where people can read or borrow them. Quiet means calm and not noisy. Disturb means to interrupt someone or stop their peace. Let's repeat these words together. Library, quiet, disturb. Now, let's make some simple sentences. I go to the library to read. The room is quiet. Please don't disturb me. By practicing in small stories, you learn new words naturally, remember them better, and understand how to use them correctly in sentences. Learning English this way is not only easy, but also fun. Last night, there was heavy rain. The wind was very strong, and the trees were moving from side to side. I stayed inside my house and tried to relax. I made some hot soup and listened to the rain falling on the roof. The sound of the rain was soothing and calming. Later, the electricity went off, and the house became dark. I lit a candle and continued reading my book by candlelight. It felt warm, quiet, and comfortable. After about 1 hour, the electricity came back, and everything returned to normal. It was a calm and cozy night, and I felt happy to spend this time quietly at home. Now, let's look at some new words from this story. You may have heard electricity, candle, and cozy. Let me explain them. Electricity is the power that gives light and energy to our homes. Without electricity, we cannot use lights, heaters, or many machines. A candle is a stick of wax that gives light when you burn it. Candles are useful when the electricity goes off, and they also create a warm and relaxing atmosphere. Cozy means warm, comfortable, and pleasant. You can use cozy to describe a room, a house, or even a feeling. Let's repeat the words together. Electricity, candle, cozy. Now let's make sentences. The electricity went off. She lit a candle. The room feels cozy. Practicing words in sentences helps you remember them better and makes your English stronger. In this part of the lesson, we learned how to expand vocabulary through stories. We also practiced avoiding common mistakes and listened to natural English sentences. Remember, learning new words is not about memorizing long lists. It is about listening to stories, noticing new words, repeating them, and using them in sentences. Every time you do this, your vocabulary grows, your grammar improves, and your listening skills get stronger. Can you believe we have already spent so much time together in this lesson? We started with the basics of listening. Then we practiced daily life English. After that, we expanded vocabulary and learned how to avoid common mistakes. Now, in this final part, we're going to focus on listening speed, understanding different accents, and I will give you some encouragement to keep learning. One of the biggest problems for English learners is that native speakers often talk very fast. When you listen to movies, songs, or people talking in real life, it may feel like they speak too quickly. Sometimes it sounds like all the words are connected into one long sound, and you cannot catch the meaning. This feeling is very normal. Every learner experiences it, even advanced learners. The most important thing is to stay calm. With time, practice, and listening every day, your brain will start to recognize words faster. You will learn to understand the meaning even when people speak quickly. Start by listening to short sentences, then slowly try longer sentences. You can also repeat what you hear to train your ears and your speaking at the same time. Listening speed improves naturally if you are patient and practice consistently. Learning English is like building a house. First, you lay a strong foundation with basic listening, speaking, and vocabulary. Then you add more bricks by practicing grammar and learning new words. Finally, you decorate your house by listening to natural English, understanding different accents, and speaking confidently. It takes time, but every small step counts. Remember, every time you listen, repeat, or use a new word in a sentence, you are improving. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and enjoy the process. Soon, you will notice that listening feels easier, speaking becomes smoother, and understanding English will be much more natural. Learning to understand fast English can feel difficult at first, but the good news is that with practice, your brain can get faster too. Let me explain with an example. If I speak very slowly and say, "I am going to the park now," you can understand it easily, right? But when I speak at a normal speed, "I'm going to the park now," it feels quicker. When a native speaker talks fast, it might even sound like, "I'm going to go to the park now." Did you notice that going to became gonna? This is called natural connected speech. At first, it can sound strange, but after hearing it many times, your ears will start to understand it naturally. Now, let's practice together. Repeat after me slowly. "I am going to the park now."
Good.
Now a little faster. "I'm going to the park now." Excellent. And now, at natural speed. "I'm going to go to the park now." Great job. You can see that your mouth and your ears are learning at the same time. Here's another example. If I say slowly, "Do you want to eat now?" it is very clear. But when people speak fast, they often say, "Do you want to eat?" The meaning is the same, it's just faster and smoother. Let's practice that too. Repeat slowly. "Do you want to eat now?" Faster. "Do you want to eat?"
Perfect.
Here's an important tip. When you listen to fast English, don't try to understand every single word. Instead, focus on the key words. For example, in the sentence, "I'm going to go to the park now," the most important words are park and now. Even if you miss some words, you can still understand the main idea. Another very helpful exercise is listening to the same audio many times. The first time you listen, you might understand only a little. The second time, you understand more. The third time, even more. Each time, your brain catches something new. This method is called repeated listening, and it is very powerful for improving your listening skills. Now, let's try a short listening story at normal speed. I will not slow it down. Just listen carefully, and don't worry if it feels fast. Last night, I went out with some friends. We had dinner at a small restaurant. The food was very delicious and we talked a lot. We laughed and shared stories about our week. After dinner, we walked around the city for a while. The streets were quiet and the lights made everything look beautiful. We talked about our plans for the next day and laughed about funny moments from the past. Walking with friends felt so relaxing and happy. When you listen to stories like this, your brain begins to recognize the natural rhythm of English. Words connect, sounds change, and sentences flow together. At first, it can feel overwhelming. But with repeated listening and practice, you will start to hear the important words and understand the meaning without focusing on every single word. Remember, learning fast English is a process. Practice slowly first, then gradually increase your speed. Repeat the same sentences or stories multiple times. Focus on keywords and main ideas. Over time, your brain, ears, and mouth will work together, and understanding fast English will become much easier and natural. After dinner, we walked in the city center. The streets were busy, and many people were enjoying the evening. We laughed together, took some photos, and had a really great time. Finally, we said goodbye and went home late. That was natural speed English. Did you catch some words like dinner, restaurant, friends, photos? That's enough for now. Don't worry if you didn't catch everything. When you listen again, you will understand more each time. Now, let's move to another very important skill: understanding accents. English is spoken in many countries like the United States, England, Australia, Canada, India, and many more. Each country has a slightly different way of speaking. This is called an accent. Sometimes, learners get used to one accent, for example, American English. But when they hear British English, it can feel confusing. Or maybe you understand British English, but not Australian English. This is completely normal. Each accent has different sounds, rhythms, and sometimes even different words. For example, in American English, people often say apartment, but in British English, they usually say flat. In American English, they say elevator, while in British English, it is called a lift. Both words mean the same thing. The only difference is the accent and the word choice. At first, this can feel confusing, but it is also exciting. It shows how diverse and rich English is as a global language. You don't need to understand every accent perfectly right now. Instead, start by listening to different voices. Watch videos from America, movies from Britain, and shows from Australia. Little by little, your ears will adjust. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to understand different accents. Let's practice with 2 small sentences in different accents. First, in American English, how are you today? It sounds very flat and smooth. How are you today? Now, in British English, it might sound a little different. How are you today? The words are exactly the same, but the way they sound changes with the accent. If you keep listening, over time you will notice these differences and get used to them. You can practice by listening to short stories or dialogues in different accents. At first, it may feel strange, and you might not catch every word. That's okay. Focus on the key words and main ideas. For example, if you hear a story about someone going to a restaurant, focus on words like restaurant, dinner, friends, food, and ignore smaller words you might not understand yet. Your brain will slowly begin to connect the sounds to the meanings. Remember, learning accents is a gradual process. Start with one accent, then explore others. Pay attention to rhythm, stress, and small differences in pronunciation. You don't need to be perfect. Just listening regularly and noticing differences will train your ears and help you understand English more naturally. Over time, accents that once felt confusing will become easier and more familiar. Listening practice is not just about understanding words. It's about getting used to how English sounds in different places. By exposing yourself to multiple accents, you are giving your brain a valuable workout. You will improve your listening skills, your pronunciation, and your confidence in understanding English spoken naturally at different speeds. Now, let's include accent differences in a story. I'll tell a simple story in English, but I will use both British and American words. Yesterday, I left my flat and walked to the underground station. In American English, you would say apartment and subway station. I bought a ticket and waited for the train. The journey was short, and I arrived at my office on time. At lunch, I took the lift to the top floor where the cafeteria is. In American English, you would say elevator and cafeteria. I had a sandwich and a cup of tea. After work, I went back to my flat and watched some television. Did you notice the different words? Flat/apartment, underground/subway, lift/elevator. These differences are easy to learn once you know them. Pronunciation can be different too. In American English, people often say schedule with a sk sound, schedule. In British English, it is often pronounced with a sh sound, schedule. Same word, different sound. Don't worry if it feels strange at first. With time, you will understand both. Now, let's talk about encouragement because learning English can feel like climbing a big mountain. Sometimes you might feel tired or that you are not improving fast enough. But remember, every time you listen to a story, repeat words, or use them in sentences, your skills are growing. Your vocabulary is expanding, your grammar is improving, and your listening is getting stronger. Can you believe how much we've already covered in this lesson? We started with the basics of listening. Then we practiced daily English in real-life situations. After that, we worked on vocabulary and learned how to avoid common mistakes. Now, in this final part, we are focusing on listening speed, understanding accents, and some encouragement to keep going. One of the biggest challenges for English learners is that native speakers talk very fast. When you hear natural English at full speed, it can feel overwhelming. Words link together and sounds change. But don't worry, this is normal. Start by focusing on key words, not every word. Then practice repeated listening. Listen to the same audio multiple times. The first time, you might understand only a little. The second time, more. The third time, even more. Step by step, your brain will catch the sounds and meanings. Another tip is to listen to different accents. English is spoken all over the world. American, British, Australian, Canadian, Indian, they all sound different. The rhythm, pronunciation, and some words can change. For example, in American English, people say apartment, but in British English, it is flat. In American English, people say elevator, while in British English, it is lift. These small differences are easy to understand with practice. The key is consistency. Listen often. Repeat sentences. Try to imitate what you hear. Watch shows, videos, or movies in different accents. Over time, your ears will adjust. You'll start understanding English naturally, even at fast speeds. Remember, learning English is a journey. It takes patience and practice. Every time you listen, speak, or read, you are improving. Don't give up if it feels difficult. Keep going little by little. Your effort will pay off.